All right, welcome to the Hamish and Brandon Show, episode 3. I'm
Yeah.
Hamish, and this is Brandon.
Howdy.
Brandon, how's... Oh, you know what, Brandon? Hold on a second. I just realized I had the... That's good. I had the stream open there for a second in the other window, and it just kicked in and started playing a couple second delay of what I had been saying, and that was very distracting. So, okay, I'm back now. Sorry.
Make sure to mute that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully it just came through on my headphones, not to anyone else. But yeah, that was weird.
You do have a red glow. Do you have something on your screen right now that's like reddish?
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's actually orange. It's bright orange.
Okay.
I'll let me temper that a little bit. Oh, it's very noticeable.
Oh, is it me? Is it my shirt or your shirt?
No. It's
oh, there we go. That's it.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I turned on night shift in Mac, which is like it just like dims the screen and gives it like a yellowish tint.
Oh, I love programs like that. I mean, the theory behind it is that all the blue light coming into your eyes from white computer screens like throws off your sleep cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
your brain, like your circadian rhythm, it's like, I'm going crazy. Like, I think it's daytime right now, but it's not. And then you just go crazy and start killing people. I use a program just like it's called Flux.
Yes.
There's a version for Linux and there's a version for Windows. I'm not sure about Mac, but if there's one for Mac, then that it doesn't matter who's doing it, right? As long as someone's doing it, right? Ubuntu actually has a built-in one now.
Nice.
Ubuntu, is it GNOME? Shoot, what's their default window manager?
I don't know. Is it KDE? Is KDE a window manager, or is that just a distro? I don't know enough about Linux.
It's a separate that's a separate window manager, but it has its own distro. Yeah, so it's both. That's Ubuntu. And then there's Ubuntu and Edubuntu and anything Ubuntu, right? So
yeah.
But
one of these days I need to try some more Linux out. I think my experience there is pretty limited.
You should. You absolutely should. I mean everyone's got the Macs because that's the cool thing to do. But if you're a developer, I think Linux is the way to go. That's just
No, it's true. There's early on, like there were lots of reasons I wanted to use a Mac because there were certain like certain software that only worked on Mac. And Photoshop, Photoshop works on Windows. I don't know if Photoshop works on Linux. I've never checked. I'm guessing it doesn't, but could be wrong.
I should qualify that earlier statement. If you're a designer, I'm not. Maybe Mac is better because it has all the suite of programs for that. I meant if you're a developer,
exactly,
especially server side stuff, then
yeah. No, it's a dream if you're ready to go. Yeah, if you're a developer, it's great. And actually, like lately though, like I felt less attached to Mac because, like I said, I was like, oh, okay, I need to use Photoshop or I need to use this program called Sketch that's actually like Mac only, and it's like Photoshop, but it's really tailored for like interface design. So it doesn't have like all of like the filters and the brushes, like the stuff that you get in Photoshop that's like meant for like photo editing or like, compositing like really fancy things. It's like Sketch is like a tool that lets you like build buttons and interfaces and that kind of stuff, layout you could like lay out like a poster or something. So that's what Sketch is. And it got really popular for a long time with developers and like developers/designers. It had like an easy, like, copy. You could like right click a shape and like copy the CSS for that shape. So it would give you like the shadows or the gradient or the outlines and the borders and all that stuff. So it had some cool features like that, which I think Photoshop actually added in their recent versions as well. But anyway, Sketch was kind of ahead of the curve on that. And then more recently, though, I've been using something called Figma, which I really like.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Was it you that told me about it in the first place?
Probably. I don't know. So my coworker, he's actually since moved on to work at a different company, but I feel like he introduced it to me on our team, or someone started. I don't know who started using it first, but the reason he used it a lot though was because he was on Linux. So like he couldn't open any sketch files because Sketch was Mac only, right? So
yeah.
So like the design team would send like, here's the mock-up, what needs to be built, and it was like, can you send me a static, image?
Yeah.
Or, like, So anyway, Figma's cool because it's entirely browser based.
Yeah, I've tried it. A coworker of mine started using it, and he's like trying to get us to view the files through that.
It's super cool. Yeah. And I feel like you and I, for some reason or another, I must have shared a Figma with you at some point. I can't remember why. But anyway, yeah, it's awesome. It blows my mind how well it works. I know they use like lots of cool things. They must be using like, what's that called? Like WebAssembly for sure. I know a lot of like the heavy lifting is done like with like, compiled code, because it's really fast. Like I've seen like just massive files with like, thousands of pixels and different like artboards and stuff, and they load like quickly in your browser, like it's just crazy. So yeah. But yeah, that's the thing though, going back to what you were saying, you don't need like the system doesn't matter. Like the web is becoming the platform now. And so it's like having a Mac or a PC, it's just like it matters less now because so much of our time is just in the browser. Like, it's like operating systems are kind of just like fading into the background. I don't know. I will say, and this is like a really like nitpicky designer thing, but I really like the way Mac renders text. I've just never liked the way Linux renders text. It does it in kind of like it's like a programmer built it. A programmer was like, this is good enough. Whereas like Apple, like, and like they have this obsession with detail. They spent a lot of time on like the text rendering algorithms to make them look nice and smooth and shit. And I look at Linux and it's like, we got a little bit of anti-aliasing there. We'll just slap it on the screen. Maybe it's gotten better in some of the distributions, but
I'm going to take your word for it because I really don't know anything about this. I mean, I'm a programmer, so I'm just look at it. I'm like, okay, I see text and it's legible, so go for it, right? But okay, so what is the difference though? Like, what does Mac do in terms of rendering text on screen?
Well, there's different algorithms for like anti-aliasing. So I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I know like, for example, if you open up Photoshop, like any version of Photoshop for the last like 10 years or more, and you render text on the screen, there's like a little drop down where you can choose the anti-aliasing type. And there's like 4 or 5 different kinds. And in recent versions, they added one called like Mac LCD, which is like, there's like a Mac version.
Specifically for,
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just the way it renders the text that I really like. I mean, actually, and there's 2 types of anti-aliasing in Mac. So one is and this is common across different types of computers. So like Mac, PC does this as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's certain Linux, maybe Linux does as well, but there's something called subpixel anti-aliasing. Yeah. So the concept behind that is like, instead of just using like black, but like shades between black and white to like, anti-alias an edge, it takes advantage of the fact that on an LCD screen, you can actually like use like actual color. So if you were to zoom into it, like on the left hand side of the black pixel, it might have like a slightly like red tinted shade, but on the right hand side of a pixel on the other side of the character shape, it would be like a slightly blue one or something. I can't remember the exact details. Anyway, it's taking advantage of the fact that the way the RGB, the way the LCD crystals emit the colors, it actually produces what appears to be a smoother anti-aliasing effect, right? It would look bad like on a CRT, for example. Like a CRT it just renders things differently, but it's the way that the light comes out of an LCD screen that makes that look pretty good. Anyway, if you Google like subpixel anti-aliasing, you'll see like zoomed in examples of that. Looks really weird zoomed in. You're like, why are there colors all around this like text? But I will say though, I don't really like subpixel because maybe it's just that screens have gotten better, or my eyes. I can like see kind of the colors. It looks kind of weird to me. I don't even like that very much. Earlier versions like Windows XP had a really like heavy version of that. They called it ClearType. I'm clearly obsessed with that. Yeah. So ClearType on Windows XP and above, I think it was exactly that. It was like subpixel anti-aliasing. And you could actually adjust it. They had a tool you could like a wizard you could run through, and you could like just pick different like I think they saw something like that on the latest versions of Windows too. Anyway, I'm a nut about this stuff, so I would actually like every once in a while I'd go through and like recalibrate and like try and find the perfect type. So right now on my Mac, my preference is I have that anti-aliasing turned off. I'm just gonna see where it is. It's like under general settings on Mac. Yeah. So right now in the general settings of my Mac, there's this thing that says use LCD font smoothing. And I have it unchecked. And for a couple reasons. One is like, again, if I check that, it'll try and do the subpixel, and it makes things look thicker. So it can make them look smoother, but it makes things look thicker, which so a character or like the letter A is going to look a little bit heavier in weight than like it will if you turn it off. So I prefer like the thinner text. It just looks cleaner and sharper to me. So I turn it off, and that means it doesn't use that. But it still uses this. The way it does it is still really effective. It doesn't look too heavy. It looks clean. And then on my Mac screen, so the one right here in the middle, it's like they call it their Retina screen. It's just really high resolution, right? So because it's so high resolution, you almost don't even need like anti-aliasing at that point. Like you do, because it would be noticeable if you didn't have it. But because like everything is being rendered like there's so much more density in the pixels, you can't perceive the harder edges as well. So like text looks great on the screen. It looks perfect. I can't see any pixels on the screen, right? But I turn to this screen and I can make out the pixels, and I can see or this one, for example, over here, like I can kind of see pixels more easily. Whereas, yeah, like on this Retina screen, I can't see it. So yeah, all that to say, choose whatever looks good to you. If you don't care, it doesn't matter. But I've just noticed, like I'll be browsing the internet and I'll see a screenshot of a Linux desktop. And I've seen some really nice looking ones, like people will customize it. But when I see like a full screen of someone like browsing a website, like a text heavy website, I just see like the big chunks of text. And they just look like the anti-aliasing algorithm is just kind of like, it's okay. Like it just stands out to me. Like it just looks to me like it looks heavier on the heavier side. So like the characters in most fonts that I've seen there tend to feel kind of, I don't know. We should do an experiment. We should go to the same page and both take screenshots and just like share it. And like, okay, I'd love to kind
first
of compare.
of all, about the screenshot thing, like, could it just be like a problem with the screenshot software? Like it's the way it's capturing the pixels into an image and then like compressing the image, and then it's being rendered back on your screen. Like I don't know, maybe there's some. I think you'd have to see it in person.
I agree. I think there's a bit of seeing it in person, and I think I'm definitely
have
biased.
One monitor, hook up a Mac, and then hook up a PC, and then one at a time, and try and see visually the difference. And you can choose different options for different screens on the same, hooked up to the same computer.
So the anti-aliasing one applies to all of them. So
okay,
you can't choose per screen, but like text does look better on the Mac's, like the Retina display, just because it's much higher resolution. But yeah, like I said, if I click this box right now, not like just because of the way the Mac works, not every app will update right away, but the next time it like repaints its UI, it'll like use that new flag, and you can see it, like everything just starts to look a bit thicker and a bit bolder. So it's just like a preference thing. Like
there must be an option in Linux in some distro somewhere for that.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like
I'm sure
there's a way to activate it. I don't know, like if for those who are interested. What do you call someone who someone who like really cares about their headphones, for example? You call them an audiophile, right? Like because they care about like the slightest decibel and tone and hammer and whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you call someone who's super obsessed with like their screen, or like the way their screen renders text or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like it fits into a branch of like typography to some degree. Like you're
typophile.
Typophile, maybe that would be a good word. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've always had a fascination with that though. Like, I don't know. I probably started because when I was younger, I spent a lot of time like in Photoshop and playing with that kind of stuff, So, but yeah,
I'm gonna look this up. Word for someone who is obsessed with fonts. But it's not fonts per se that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's like
font rendering.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, that's accurate, but also I just feel like there's not going to be
screenophile or monitorophile.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I would love the utility of Linux. But I know like if there's anything that I would miss, it would just be like the little like nice touches, the user experience touches in Mac. You know,
Yeah,
just
they
the
put a
way
lot of
things,
effort into it.
yeah, the way things feel. And like it's just yeah, like I like the way like every window has kind of a heavy shadow in Mac, and it kind of, and I like, again, I'm sure that there's like, you know,
But
window
in
managers
Linux,
that you can
you have
get.
to like you have to make it happen yourself, right? Whereas
Yeah,
in
you
Mac,
have to
it's
go
already
and like,
done.
yeah,
Yeah, so I definitely see the appeal of having that done for you.
yeah.
But hey, like I said, it's just a personal preference, and
Yeah, yeah,
the great thing is that Mac, the Mac software, the OS is based on Unix, which is the same ancestor as Linux. So a
yep.
lot of the same functionality is already available in both.
Yeah, I love that. That was
So
my first introduction really to like Unix and like Linux-ish things, right? So like as soon as I got my Mac for the first time, um, it was like a whole new world. Because yeah, like my time in Windows, I had learned like a little bit about like the command prompt and was like, this is cool, you know? And I
yeah,
thought that was cool, but it was like so clunky after I learned like the terminal, which was just like a bash terminal in Mac. When I got access to that, I was like, this is like, you know, and I think before the point that I had got a Mac, I had some experience with like SSHing into a server, and I had some context on like, oh, like this is what bash is, and realized that it was better. Just that, I mean, that's subjective, I guess, but I just feel like, um, I don't know. It just felt like just using it was so much more usable and more powerful than like the command prompt in Windows. Windows now has like something called PowerShell, which is
yeah, yeah.
pretty powerful.
Basically,
But,
they rebuilt their DOS system, basically, because they're like, well, we can either work to improve this system, or we can just start from scratch and build a brand new one. And being programmers, you know, obviously rebuilding it is always the more appealing one. And I'm
yeah,
sure, and also the original command, uh, what it's not DOS exactly. With the command prompt, whatever
yeah,
window,
yeah, yeah,
whatever the system they use, is, you know, it goes back a long ways, and they really focused on their graphical interfaces, right? So
Hmm.
I'm sure development on the terminals and consoles kind of took a back seat to that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But you mentioned SSHing into to network other computers on the network. I think that's a perfect segue into talking about servers, right? You mentioned servers last time, and we're like, we can build our own
Yeah,
little world of servers. I just love that feeling. I don't know, like I'm 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 not a hacker in the movie sense. Like I can't hack into a bank or anything. But when I can just connect to a remote computer and say like do something, and it's happening in another location, like that's just a whole bunch
yeah.
of fun. um,
I love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's just nice having that like, I don't know. It's like you feel like you have uh like, I'm trying to find the comparison. Like when you own a house, you feel the sense of like pride of ownership. You know, you have
mhm,
like, you have
yeah,
equity in this, you have a stake in something. It's kind of the same sort of feeling when you have a server that you can, you know, use at your whim, at your whatever you want to do with it, right? Like it's nice. So yeah.
yeah. So um, right now I have a bunch of little servers, and most of them are Raspberry Pis.
Hmm.
But I do have I have my original web host, which I got like I don't remember how long, like a decade ago, like a long time ago. I
Yeah.
still have it, and I should replace it, but I don't want to bother transferring everything over. And my domain name is tied to it, and my email is tied to it. So I'm like, I could switch everything over, but that would take like a good solid day, and I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with, and the risk of losing things in between. I'm like, okay, I'll just keep it, and it's like $5 a month or something crazy, like something that I would have been comfortable paying, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I have one VPS, which, is on OVH. Have you heard of OVH?
No, I haven't.
OVH, it's kind of like DigitalOcean or oh shoot, where are the other ones?
Linode and
Linode, and
Linode, yeah.
is it Viper or
Vulture is another one.
Vulture?
I have one with Vulture. Yeah.
I think it was you that told me about Vulture. I think.
Yeah.
I went with OVH because they actually had one tier that was like even cheaper than the cheapest DigitalOcean droplet.
Nice.
And
I love that. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll go with that one. And they have a data center here in Montreal, so
very cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah. And and I use them for a bunch of different things. My main Raspberry Pi is sitting in my kitchen next to the router, and it's got a 2 terabyte hard drive hooked up to it, and that's my main file server.
Yeah.
And so I use a program called SyncThing to synchronize folders on my computer with folders on the Raspberry Pi.
Yes. Okay.
So it's kind of like Dropbox, where you have a folder, and the moment you put a file in it, or change a file, or delete a file, or whatever, those changes are reflected in the other server. Except you own the other server, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you how you handle, like, do you put code in there? Like, do you have like programming things, or are you just keeping like things like personal photos and like his sentimental items? Like, what do you store in backup?
I store pretty much everything, and I'm a pack rat in real life. And so I'm obsessed with keeping also. Okay, just in arm's reach as an example, this is my little bucket of receipts. And at some point when it gets too high, I'm going to burn them, going back a few years. But I know it's not a rational mindset to have, but it's just somewhere in my mind, deep down, I'm just like, this is going to be useful somehow, or one day you might need it, and so you should hang on to it.
Yeah.
It drives my wife crazy. It's like, just throw it out, or at least sort through it. Sometimes I'm too lazy to sort through it. Like, if I were smart about it, I would, sort, like, okay, this one I'm definitely going to keep. This one's a maybe pile, and then eventually I'll just throw out the maybe pile. I don't even do that. So what I hope
first step is recognition, Brandon. So you're
on exactly. So at least I can acknowledge it and kind of deal with it as such. And you know what? It's the same thing in the digital world. I keep as much as I possibly can. So most of my computer is backed up in this way. So photos. I also do code bases. I use Git to synchronize with my, and I'll get to that in a moment. I have a Git server. But the whole repository, including the Git folder, is in that folder that's shared, and therefore it gets synchronized.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask. That's what I wanted to ask. Like, do you?
It's very inefficient. And it's needlessly so. But I do like it because sometimes, first of all, there are files that I don't necessarily include in Git, but are still vital to operating the thing. So whatever is in Git ignore, for example. Also, if I'm working on a change and I I don't have time to commit it, or it's not, the change itself is not complete, and I decide, or I have to get up and go somewhere. If my computer crashes in that moment, in the middle between two commits, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I still have the intermediate files, which are stored, on my file server. So I like that, and I like the fact that it stores the other files that are necessary, photos, videos, downloads. Man, oh man, my downloads folder. Okay, I don't know why, but every computer I have, like, the documents folder is like tiny, and the downloads folder is enormous.
Yeah, I know exactly that. Yeah.
And even now, it's just, as I'm thinking about it, I can't even tell you what is in my downloads folder, but whatever happens to come my way in on the internet, right?
It's almost like a journal.
It is. It is, in fact. And aside from my actual journal, which is in digital format, and anyways, I can go back, and also, yeah, in my file server, I separate it by I separate my folders by category. So here are my utility bills, or here are my credit card payments, and I download, like, whenever I download like confirmation, like, print this page for your records. I don't print it out. I print a PDF and I save the PDF.
Yeah.
In addition to those, I separated by what computer it was on, right? So in my file server, I have, like, oh, this is my computer from 2006, and this is my computer from 2012. This is my computer from 2014, and so I can actually go into them and look at, like, things I was downloading and things I was interested in, right?
Yeah,
and like, oh, I forgot that I downloaded this program and tried it out. Like, it's sometimes it's fun going down memory lane and reminiscing about things that I was interested in, and also see the progress I've made. Like, sometimes I found some old programming projects, like when I very early on I tried to implement a wiki using PHP, right? And succeeded. I mean, but it was horribly simplistic, and I look back on it, I'm like, wow, I've to see the progress that I've made. Nowadays, I would just download someone else's version of it, because I don't want to recreate it myself. But yeah, it's a journal of sorts.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah.
What else? Oh, I have one thing that's a little weird. Like, I have a YouTube index. Whenever I browse YouTube or watch videos on YouTube, I don't log in, because I don't want the Google machine finding out what I watch. I know it's ridiculous because they're tracking my IP address anyways, but it's just a paranoid thing that I have. And so, but I still want bookmarks and my indexes of channels that I prefer and videos I'm interested in. So I maintain my own index on one of these servers.
Right on.
And what it does is I have a list of channels, and periodically it fetches those pages from YouTube, from all those channels, and tells me if there's a new video from that channel.
Oh, right on. Yeah. So you don't even have to go to YouTube.
Exactly. So I don't even have to go to YouTube and check. It's like, oh, is there anything new on this one? Is there anything new on this one? Is there anything? I just go to my index and it'll say, here's a new one, here's a new one, here's a new one. I've essentially recreated my own reader. But for YouTube. And from what I hear, maybe you can tell me if this is true. When you subscribe to a channel, it doesn't actually notify you that there are new ones. You have to click a separate notification bell, which all the YouTubers keep mentioning in their outros. So I guess technically my system is better than even YouTube's system that they offer.
Yeah, it's really weird. I know there's some like I don't know if I would call it conspiracy. I'm not a big enough YouTuber to know, but some YouTubers are like you have to click the bell, but even that doesn't work sometimes. Like YouTube has a bit of their like their algorithm might decide not to notify you, or maybe it's just bugs and glitches. You know, like I as a programmer, like yeah, but like, yeah, like
and the reason I believe it is because Facebook has the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you become someone's friend on Facebook, it's assumed that you're interested in this person, and therefore you want to find out what's going on in their lives, and you want to see their posts, right?
Yeah.
But if you saw everybody's posts from all your friends on your timeline would, go on forever with new stuff, and you'd be inundated.
Yeah.
And so in an effort to fix that or to prevent that, Facebook chooses based off of, certain trends they see. They're like, he visits this person's page more often. We'll show posts from this person.
He likes this person's comments more.
Or this one has more likes, so we'll post this one. This one has and sometimes it's like, this one's a baby photo. Everyone likes baby photos, so we'll just put that one out. Even though for some people that's not even true. And so
that's super interesting.
For YouTube, I totally believe it. I 100% believe it. They're like, well, if they subscribe to a lot of channels, they'll be inundated. So we'll just like pick out the ones we think they'll like best, right?
Yeah.
And how much leeway is there for other stuff? I don't know.
It's funny because the way I use YouTube, like I do subscribe. I have my Google account. I don't click the bell icon for many channels. I think I maybe have it checked for like 2 channels, and I haven't checked. Like they seem to pretty reliably notify me, and it comes to my phone.
If it's only 2, maybe, yeah.
I think, and that's what I'm thinking, right? So I imagine if I had like a dozen channels checked, maybe at that point I start to see some of them not coming in, and either that's like I mean, you could blame it on a systems thing. Maybe the YouTube systems just can't handle like notifying a person that many times. I doubt that though. So I think you're right that it's probably just an algorithm that, determines. But yeah, so a lot of the YouTubers that are more like conspiracy minded are like, you got to just, sign up to this newsletter here and I'll let you know when a new video comes out or whatever. Just, follow me on Twitter. And although Twitter is a whole other story too, because they also have their own kind of algorithm, and I've fallen into the trap of following like 1,000 something people just over like the last like 15 years of using Twitter. I just follow like, 100 people every year, or something to that effect. And now I have 1,000 people. So it's like too much. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but like I need to call my Twitter list, and I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. It's just like so many people and a lot of people that get very political, as Twitter does. And I've thought to myself, I need to get people who aren't going to post this. Then I'm like, shoot. But like a lot of people that I actually enjoy some of their like technical content will just occasionally like drop a political bomb and some like rage about something. And it is what it is. Like it's their Twitter. They can post what they want. But it's almost like, I don't go to Twitter for that.
It's cool. What I do like about Twitter, like, and I don't know how many people use this, but they have an option where you can say, I want to ignore these keywords. So you type in certain words, and if the tweet is related to those words, they'll kind of like they'll drop it or they'll ignore it for you.
Oh, I have a couple of words I could put in, I think.
yeah, exactly. So much. And I should really take advantage of that. I originally got Twitter just for the tech scene, like you, and even among the techies, there's some of them are starting to be all political. I'm like, just because you're smart in this doesn't mean you're smart in anything else, let alone politics.
Exactly.
Anyways. And so actually I do appreciate the idea of an algorithm that's filtering for you and prioritizing which things you might like better. It's just like, well, first, the one thing that everybody complains about, which is the transparency. Like, no one knows how these algorithms work. You have no idea if they're purposely leaning more towards these content producers because maybe they have better advertising deals, who knows, or maybe they're avoiding certain other ones because of political ones. You have no idea if they're injecting these sorts of things.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or not.
But it's a great point. Yeah, and they're not going to be transparent about that, so you just have to.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
In your case, yeah, you can federate that data, take it away from them, and that's actually what I love about the internet. Is like there's almost always a way, particularly when you have our type of skills, to like, you know, bypass these sorts of things or get around it. And
but unfortunately, in our world, that takes work, and most people don't care, right? So they will happily just contribute their data without really their knowledge, and you know, just keep building up this big machine. Anyways, that was a tangent, but an important one. And you know what, we should probably talk about this again in the future, because this is an important subject.
No, I agree. I like what you were saying about your own sort of data setup. I think we should talk more about that, and I'm gonna look at the show notes too to follow some of the links. I know we talked about it before, but I'm definitely interested in setting that up. I have right now. I have only one Raspberry Pi, and it's great, but right now it does a couple things. It's mostly a smart home sort of hub in the sense that it sends and receives messages that kind of relay things to different smart devices like my television and my computer. So it has a Node server running on it, which Node is great, but probably not the best for like a memory strapped small device like a Pi. I mean, it's not like it can't do anything with Node, but if I wanted to run like a file server on top of it, I feel like it would.
Node as in Node.js or Node as in. Okay.
Node.js, yeah. So to get Node installed in there wasn't terribly difficult, but I had to find a special binary and.
Yeah, they have an official ARM version now. So, and I'm pretty sure it's optimized for. I mean, it's an ARM version, so obviously it's optimized for a smaller processor. But I haven't had very much problems. I did have a problem when trying NVM. You know NVM, right? It manages the Node version.
That's right. I use that. Yeah.
No, NVM recommends that you add something to your bash RC to to make sure that you're using the correct Node version, and for some reason that is extremely slow for me on my Raspberry Pi.
Oh, interesting.
So in the future, when I refresh my Raspberry Pis, I'm going to install all the versions manually and ignore and leave out NVM. I don't know why, but yeah.
You should look into N, like just the letter N. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, it's a competitor to NVM, right?
Yeah, I've never tried it. I heard that it's faster. I thought maybe because it was like written in like Bash or something like that, as opposed to. But I could be completely wrong. I've not used it, so yeah, your idea of just installing them manually might be better. But
yeah. So now that we've talked about this a little bit, I want to revisit an idea that I've mentioned to you a long time ago, but that we've never really done.
Yeah.
And that is setting up a remote file server in each other's homes.
Yes.
So I would, and it doesn't have to be Raspberry Pi. I think Raspberry Pi is the easiest because it's just a small, low-powered device, and you have a hard drive attached to it. Anyways, so the idea is I would get a Raspberry Pi and a hard drive and send it to you and for you install it in your house, and you would get a Raspberry Pi and a hard drive and send it to me, and I would set it up in my house.
Yeah.
Or we can just cancel out the trade and I get one for you and you get one for me and save the shipping costs. Anyways, and we set it up and we use it as an offsite backup. So, for anyone else listening who doesn't know, you should always have an offsite backup, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you have your files on your computer, and these are your precious family photos, important documents, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You should always have a backup. So in case your computer is, gets smashed or whatever, destroyed,
Lost or stolen, or
fried by lightning, whatever. Stolen is the big one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or just big magnet, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
If it's an HDD. So you should always have a backup for your files, and you should have a second offsite backup. So the first backup could be like a big hard drive. Back in the day, I used to save burn CDs or DVDs of all my files. So somewhere in my parents' house, there's a stack of DVDs of all my old architectural drawings and doodles and early programs, and probably some journals too. So anyways,
now you're thinking I should go through this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I should. And then you should also have an offsite backup in case the first backup goes through a similar bad scenario. Theft is a big one. People can jump in your home, grab a hard drive or whatever, or maybe you have to abandon your house, heaven forbid, for some natural disaster or a fire, or whatever the case may be. Right? I mean, if without an offsite backup, if if there's a fire in your house, you might consider spending an extra second grabbing a hard drive or your computer and before you walk out the door. If you have an offsite backup, you don't have to worry about that. You just say, okay, I can leave confident in the knowledge that all my files are stored somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any farther than the two of us across the country, right?
Yeah.
So if both locations fail at the exact same time, then we
have bigger problems.
Nuclear Armageddon, right? Like,
when
World War III has begun, we have, or an EMP just, destroyed all of the computers in the world. Then we have other problems on our hands. Yes. So you should. I was going to mention something else about backups. Oh, you remember the WannaCry virus? You hear about that? From a few months back. It was, I mean, it only worked on Windows XP, so it doesn't really apply to us. But in principle, it could. I mean, it's a virus, and it locked all your files. It just basically encrypted it with a random key, and it said, if you want your files back, you pay us some Bitcoin, and you'll get the decryption key. And this affected like hospitals in England or something, like never upgraded their systems.
Oh my gosh, right?
It mostly affected people who didn't upgrade their computers. So if you want people to pay you in Bitcoin, like don't go for the non-techies who can't even upgrade their Windows.
Who aren't going to be able to afford the exact thing you're asking for. That's actually funny you mentioned WannaCry, because I was just watching a YouTube video the other day, and it was this man who calls scammers, or I don't know, somehow gets scammers to call him, and they're the scammers that take control of your computer and try and get you to share your so he's on this call with the scammer, and he's kind of walking through the steps of the scammer, and while he's putting on this show and pretending to be a very inept computer person, you can see his screen. He's got something open on his computer, and then the scammer's like, okay, send me your credit card number now, put it in. And he's like, I'm going to send you the file. And he goes and he takes this exe file, and he calls it card.exe, and he sends it. He does they're doing a screen share, right? Or they're doing a go to my PC or some type of screen share thing. He goes to the send file thing, and the guy's like, what is this file? He's like, oh, that's my card. That's what it is, And the guy's like, and at first the scammer's not taking the bait, He's like, I'm not, he's Indian, right? As unfortunately many of them are, but and he's like, that doesn't look, he sounds confused. The scammer sounds confused. So the guy keeps sending the file. Since one or two more times, he's like, yeah, this is my card. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you open it? This is my card. And eventually something pops up on the screen that shows that he ran the executable, and it's WannaCry, and it like triggers on the scammer's computer, and everything on the scammer's computer, like, so as soon as it acts, and he also has like access to the scammer's computer too, and he starts like, so anyway, he can see the scammer's screen, and it pops up, and it says gosh. Like, you know, please send the Bitcoin, all your files have been locked, and then the guy on the phone just starts like cussing out the guy. He's like, "What are you gonna do? Like, you just got hacked, bro. Like, what are you gonna do now?" He's quite, I mean, I would say he's quite rude, but to be fair, the scammer was trying to take his money.
He's trying to scam him, yeah.
Yeah. But the scammer in like Hindi, someone in the comments translated, was like, I don't know what he did. He did some virus somehow. I don't know how he did it. Like,
well, I mean these scammers, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm making an educated guess. These scammers are not doing it on their own, right? They're working for some. No. It's not like they themselves are just single-handedly scamming all these old folks or people, but so they're following a script, like in a very detailed set of instructions. Like, wait, say this, wait until the person responds with this, and then you do this, like. And so it's like, card.exe. Oh, that's not part of the script. What do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a couple of these videos on YouTube. Like I've wasted a couple afternoons watching them.
Well, it's funny because I didn't know what WannaCry did, and I had to Google it. I remember hearing about it, and I probably knew what it did when it came out, like I'd read, but I just like forgotten it. I was like, what does WannaCry do again? And then of course he was like, all your files are encrypted now. What are you gonna do about it? Like the guy, and you can see the scammer like trying to click on things. Everything's like locked. And how did that even work? I mean, that sounds fascinating. I wonder how that one actually worked. Like, is it like?
Well, getting a virus onto a computer, not that difficult. Most of it is social engineering, right? I mean, you trick someone into downloading something and running it.
Exactly, which is what he was doing, right? With
once the person runs it, encrypting files is not difficult, right?
I guess you're right, and it's like, as long as the process. The thing I find with Windows, maybe this is a Windows thing, is like it's not hard for a file to get like privileged access. Like before they added the UAC. In later versions of Windows, which was like, you know, they tried to lock down user access. I feel like it was very like any executable had like full, like basically root permissions, you know.
But what's crazy is these are the personal files of the user, right? So you don't even need privileged permissions.
Good point.
And that applies to most operating systems. And I was watching this video about, you know, like, it's unfortunate. This guy was talking about this, and he's like, it's unfortunate because what would have been ideal is we live in a world of operating systems where each program has its own sandboxed access to disk drive. So you can save a file, you can retrieve files that were previously saved by the same program, but you can't access files that were saved by other programs, or you can't access any other files. And if you want to, you can explicitly give it access to specific folders or specific files, but it doesn't have, you know, free reign over your hard drive. And the reason why it's not like that today is because, you know, computers back, you know, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you know, it would have taken too many of the computer's resources to individually, you know, segregate every single process in its own little world. Now we live in a world of Docker, right? And which does exactly this. You can explicitly give it access to folders, and it has no access to any other folders. It thinks each program thinks it's in its own little world. So, I mean, we kind of are slowly moving in that direction, but I mean, you know, it'll be a while before it's mainstream, right? I think mobile phones do that. I'm not too sure what.
That's because I don't know either. But
because when you install an app, it says, "Oh, this app is requesting access to your photos," for example.
Yeah.
And you have to click OK to give it access to your photos. So I mean, this is kind of in that vein, right?
That's a great point. Yeah, I don't know a lot about that either, but yeah, exactly. When you install an app, you have to be very explicit.
So if you know how to make a virus, WannaCry is actually very easy. Encrypting files is easy. Since all programs have access to the unprotected, it's not the system files, right? They're the regular personal files. And creating creating the message that says send Bitcoin to this address. The address can be hard coded, right? In software, and all you have to do is figure out a way to encrypt the encryption key and lock it to a certain Bitcoin address. That is if you're an honest hacker, right?
Yeah.
Like chances are they just encrypted it, say send the Bitcoin, and you do, and you never get your files back, right?
Right.
Anyways, all this is to say you should have backups. So if something like this happens, you can just say, fine, screw it. I'm just going to wipe the hard drive and I'll reload the files from somewhere else.
Start from scratch.
So this is something we should do. We need to set up some rules. Like, unfortunately, Raspberry Pis, if they crash or sometimes they shut down. If the load gets too high or whatever, or if there's a power surge. So we need some sort of mechanism to ask the other, like, could you restart my Raspberry Pi, please? Just maybe we should have some sort of ground rules saying like, okay, you can request it, but. And
can we trigger a remote restart, or would it be like you'd have to do like a hard power reset for it to work, right?
For Raspberry Pi, I don't think you can do it remotely. I think you have to unplug the power and then replug it, or unless the plug itself had some sort of switch,
So I have a smart switch that I could. Yeah, I have a smart switch that I can plug mine into. Yeah. So if you get one, they're like $20-30. You can get a decent smart switch.
Okay.
And then it's Wi-Fi enabled, and you can I can just make an endpoint that you could hit on my server that will, and it'll be a separate server from the Pi, obviously, but like I can make an endpoint that you could hit that would trigger a reboot cycle,
Ooh, maybe I'm very intrigued by this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be dangerous. You'd have to like make sure that the Pi is unreachable first before you trigger like a hard reset, right? But like, that would be cool.
Yeah. So so something like that. That'd be awesome, right?
Well, it's funny. We have a webcam in our kids' room that our youngest Maggie is no longer in the room anymore. But when she was sleeping in her crib, we had a webcam pointing at it, and it was an okay webcam, like reasonable quality, just like a D-Link one. But it would just frequently just stop working. Like I wouldn't be able to access it. I would try and hit the IP of the webcam. It just wouldn't respond. And even in their native app that you can get on your phones, it would just show up as not connected. And I'm like, well, I know it's on. It's just lost the Wi-Fi connection. And the only way to get it to work was to unplug it and plug it back in, which is super annoying. So I'm not using the smart switch for that, but I had a dumb switch in a sense, like a radio controlled one. So it's you plug it into the wall and it's a little remote clicker that can turn off these and so I did that. And then if it ever crashes, I just go to the remote, click it off, wait a few seconds, click it on, and then eventually the camera will reset and work. So I did that, but that could also work.
I wish I had something like that a long time ago. Because sometimes if I'm at work and I need to pull a file from my file server and it's not responding, I'm like, what the heck? So I have to call Jasmine. I'm like, hey, could you restart my Raspberry Pi, please? She's like,
she's like, okay, fine. Yeah, you should get a little smart one. I love this idea. I think if we can get we can each get the Pi and a hard drive. I actually already have some hard drives I could probably use. So that could be I guess, and then I think I don't know, is there an issue if they're different sizes though, the hard drive, or could we just allocate the same space on them maybe? And so the lowest common denominator might be, could always change that.
And then some other rules don't hog all the bandwidth. Don't use it to hack into the other computers, or stuff like that.
Some privacy things, I guess. Yeah,
things that we would never do, but we should probably just for sanity, just say it out loud, you know.
How well, yeah, we'll have to talk more about this. I'm just thinking out loud, like in terms of how we would. I guess it sounds like we can use the same software that you use to sync. Is that something that would function across?
I've been using it for several, like a couple years at least, and it's worked pretty well for me.
Okay.
And maybe another time I can do an actual demo for you.
Yeah,
and show you how it works. It's pretty cool.
And would it work in this? How would you set it up? Would you set it up like, because you already have a local backup, so would your how would you synchronize that local backup you have with the one that I have in my house?
Basically, the way it works is sync thing. It allows you to set up folders that you share. It doesn't have to be one single one like Dropbox. It could be multiple folders.
Nice, yeah.
And you set up multiple. You can set up multiple devices.
Oh,
and you say this folder is shared with this device and this device, or just this device.
Okay, yeah.
And so, if you're setting up another device, like a third offsite backup, for example, you would just say, I'm adding this new device, and I'm sharing basically all the folders with it, and over time it'll synchronize. So initially there might be one big, push of data. But once it's done, it's just different. The deltas basically that are
right. Oh, that's
and
cool.
It works. It works very well. It's quite fast. It uses what's it called? iNotify. It's just a built-in into the OS. It requests being notified when changes happen to this file or to this folder. And once it's notified of it, it'll trigger a synchronization.
Yeah.
So sometimes I could be working on a file, and the moment I'm done, I look at the remote server, and it's already updated.
Oh wow, cool. Nice. Yeah.
And you have options for like on the remote side. If you detect a new version, do you immediately discard the old version, or do you save it in a backup folder, or there are policies you can set up for that. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
So let's start thinking about this and setting this in motion, because I'm really interested in getting this done. Yeah,
I've got so many interesting ideas on once we have that, there's so many cool things we can do. Yeah, we have to figure out the networking part. I think what's the most efficient way to connect to us? Like I don't have a static IP. Like my internet provider is probably going to change my IP address every once in a while. So we need to get DNS set up.
Deals with that.
Does it? Okay.
They have a discovery network.
Perfect.
So basically, once it comes online, it checks through a predetermined list of discovery nodes.
Yeah.
Once it reports it, then it's discoverable through the network, and you can find it that way.
Sweet.
We're getting close on time. But I wanted to mention one last thing about what you just said. Maybe you can comment on this. I have one technique, which is a reverse SSH tunnel. Basically, I have a little script on the Raspberry Pi that connects to a remote server with a fixed IP address. And so in this case, my VPS, it has an SSH server on it.
Yeah.
And my Raspberry Pi will automatically connect to it with a reverse tunnel. Meaning, if I connect to the VPS, I can then tunnel through it and go to my Raspberry Pi.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
And what I do right now is I have a cron job that checks basically every minute if it's still up. And so I have the SSH tunnel open 24/7.
Yeah. So there's always a tunnel between your VPS and your.
It's always accessible, even though the IP address of the Raspberry Pi could change, every day.
But it maintains that connection, so
it'll reset the connection exactly. So I don't know. I've been looking online to see if this is a good practice or this is maybe unsafe practice. I can't find anything. I keep looking for perpetual SSH tunnel or always on SSH, reverse SSH tunnel. I can't find anything. It sounds secure because it's still using the SSH private key handshakes,
SSL transport layer,
SSL transport. Like, I mean, this is all industry standard. So it is, as far as I know, it should be as secure as SSH is, right?
Yeah, I would think so. That's interesting too, because I went through a similar thing where like I built a skill for my Alexa, my smart device, and it like lit up when I said that. And I wanted to host it. You could, like, Amazon's all like, host it on AWS, host it with our Lambda, you can host all your things there, which is fine. But I wanted my skill to like then ping devices on my own home network and like Mac. And I was like, if I host it on AWS, I still have to solve the problem. Yeah, it's on a different network. So I was like, what if I just host it locally and make sure that when the skill is invoked, the request is sent to my Pi. So I went through the same thing, and I did some research on the reverse SSH. But to be quite honest, as I was reading about it, I was like, this is making my head hurt. I can't figure out how this works. So even you explaining that, like, I know it makes sense in practice. Like when you explain it, it makes sense.
I'm definitely going, because even after doing it, I'm just so excited about the potential this technology has.
Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing. I think that sounds fine to me. Because I feel like when I did the research, that was a really common thing. People were like, oh yeah, just set up a SSH tunnel. And I'm like, that sounds really cool, but like, how do I do it? And there's like SSH and all these flags. Anyway, I couldn't figure it out. So I ended up doing what I consider to be kind of the easy way out, which was like, I used something called Dataplicity, which is a free service. Let me just look it up, make sure I have the right name. Yeah, so dataplicity.com. They're just like a company, and their whole job, they seem to focus mostly on Pis, honestly. I think you can add other devices too. They're sort of like an Internet of Things company, right? So like, but basically you add your device, they support Pis and other devices, and you install their client on your device. And it basically does what you just explained, but it sets up a tunnel. But it does all the heavy lifting for it. You don't have to run any commands. It sets it up as an actual service and like, in the service system for the Linux system, right? So it'll always run at boot. And so, for example, like right now, if I go to their website, I can see my Pi, I can see this online, and I can even get an interactive shell through the website to my Pi, which is kind of cool. Nice. So, I mean, all of that you could do if you set up a tunnel and had your Pi exposed, but this will just like expose your Pi. And then they have a feature called they call it Wormhole, which sounds kind of fun. And if you turn that on, then it makes port 80 available on your Pi too, and gives you a unique URL that points to that, which is exactly what I needed for my skill. So basically, I had something about that too. Yeah, so we can talk more about this. Basically, it worked great, and it works well. But like, if I wanted to like expose other services on different ports, like at that point, I'd need to get more advanced, right? But this was like, I just need to get to port 80 on my Pi. How do I do that? And I found this thing, and it's free for like one device, I think, or maybe you can have more. And I was like, perfect. I'm just going to use it. I don't have to pay for it. And it's been super reliable. So anyway, that's that's my.
So actually, I think that's exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah, it must be just creating that.
I'll bet if you set up Wireshark and check your packets, that's exactly what's going on.
Well, I just ran like PS on my Pi, and I'm like looking to see if there's any like obvious. What would you expect to see running? Would SSH be running, or would they have it like?
It would be try SSH.
I'm gonna grab.
Can you grab it?
Yeah.
Do PS dash capital.
Yeah. There is a grep process running. It's running as root, and it's SSHD. Well, it's actually just the SSH daemon. It's not the. It's not the.
Yeah, so maybe they have a custom one that does the same thing, basically.
I think they do, yeah, because there's something called it's a Python Dataplicity agent that's running right now.
Oh, you installed it on your Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, so yeah, you have to install their like.
That's it. Yeah. So.
Which is probably just using like a Python.
Exactly, in the background, it's doing something similar. When we talk about Nextcloud, I'm gonna show you what I have going on.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Let's save it for another time. I didn't even get to the other aspects of my network, but So we'll save it for next time because we're bumping on an hour already.
Yeah, let's maybe next time we can do like let's call it like the programmer version of Let's Play where people play video games, but we'll instead like go through the process of setting something up, as long as we can like properly hide any secrets and stuff like that as we do it.
Let's definitely do it.
Yeah, we can start that process. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I know you're a nerd when you enjoy like being in a shell and like typing the commands and installing things, setting things up. It's like
I fell in love a long time ago, and it's still not old, you know. I'm just like, wow, I can do this. And anyways,
yeah, I love it too.
This is why I'm in computers, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, thanks, Brandon. This has been great. Another good episode of the Hamish Brandon Show.
Yeah,
and
cool.
Yeah, I'll send me the show notes. I'll sync this up and post it. Well, I'll update the video on YouTube once you send me that video version as well. And for everyone else, anyone watching, I don't know if we have viewers, but we have no viewers. But if someone watches the recording, I will upload the higher quality version. I'm still going to do that for the last episode as well. That's in my backlog of things to do. So I will do that as well. But thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Take care.